opinions and views expressed by individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of this network, their group, or other organization they may be involved with.
Ganja my meditation, ganja my brain. Ganja weed take away my stress. Marijuana take away the stress and pain. Ganja is the medication, ganja is the cure. Police of them a fight the marijuana for sure. Purify me essence and they make me feel pure. And the way the cali we be bring it on door. Ganja in the meditation, ganja in my clothes. No offense, I'm fucking another one around you.
And we're at Ep178, and this is the video news podcast focused on cannabis news being reported in mainstream media. And I'm joined by my amazing joint host, Tara Simpson, right on over here. And good morning, Tara. How are you this morning?
I'm great, Ron. Another busy week. As you know, my life is always pure chaos. And
right.
Spent a lot of time with my grandbaby this week. He came for a visit with his mom, and then I babysat on Friday. So I got lots of grandbaby time, which was fantastic.
That's awesome. I actually have two of my grandbabies upstairs right now.
Wow.
My son and his wife and his two little girls. They're 4 and almost 2. I think 4 and a bit. No, I don't know. I can't remember things much. I'm the forgetful stoner, right? But no, they've been here since Saturday, I think it was, and they're going to be here pretty much all week. They're going to be visiting her mom down the road for a little bit, but we're getting to spend a lot of time with the grandkids,
awesome.
The grandgirls this morning. So it's been nice.
Yeah,
Not just yesterday was an awesome day. We had an awesome day together. So
that's good.
But busy around here with the gardens and all that. And I guess probably same thing in your place. The gardens.
Yeah, there's always something to be harvested or tended to or taken care of around here. So
Great.
My feet hit the floor in the morning, and we don't stop till we lay down at night.
Right. Well, we harvested our potatoes the other day. We put in about 25 pounds of potatoes from the grocery store that had lots of eyes on that we just cut up and put them in the ground. And we ended up with about 100, around 100 pounds of potatoes.
Wow. Good for you guys.
Pretty good return for just a couple dollars worth of potatoes from the grocery store.
Absolutely.
Right.
Because that will sustain you throughout the winter, right?
Right. And I love homegrown potatoes. They're so great. They're so great. There's just a different taste. Oh, I know. There's a different taste about it with all of it, right?
Absolutely. If you haven't ever taken a tomato from the grocery store and then a tomato from your garden and not noticed the difference, I suggest you go see your doctor because there's something wrong with your taste buds.
Right.
There's a huge difference in fresh produce versus stuff that's purchased at the grocery store that maybe, was picked a little pre-ripe to ripen on the truck. Doesn't have the same taste, not even close.
Right. Nothing like a toasted sourdough tomato sandwich.
Absolutely.
Picked from the garden, right? You go out, pick it, slice it up. It hasn't even been like 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And especially if you're making that sourdough from scratch.
Right. So anyways, we got some big stories in cannabis news here to tell all you guys. So I think we're just going to get straight at it now. And as soon as I can click on the stage, there we go. And there. So this first story is coming to us from StratCan Media and Events. And Government of Canada launches $24 million cannabis research initiative. This was written on August 12th by David Brown. The Government of Canada is investing $24 million to investigate how cannabis affects brain health. Canada's first National Cannabis and Brain Health Research Consortium will bring together researchers and expertise from across the country to study how cannabis affects brain health across one's lifetime. The program will also create a coordinated national research infrastructure to harmonize data from multiple sources and access across provinces and territories, forming a national resource that researchers throughout Canada can reference on an ongoing basis. Now, I have a question. Okay, finally, it's great to see that they're going to be doing this, but why is it taken this long? Like, we've had legalization in 2018 for recreation, but we've had legal medical program, different variety of programs going back 25, 26 years ago.
Right.
We could have had all
research not already been done. I know. Make it make sense, right?
Right.
Yeah. The Honorable Marjorie Michael, Minister of Health, announced on August 12th of 2026 that a $24 million investment through the Canadian Institute of Health Research to establish the Canadian Cannabis and Brain Health Consortium, Canada's first national cannabis and brain health research consortium. Good health policy starts with strong evidence, said the Minister of Health. This $24 million investment will bring together researchers from across the country to advance our understanding of how cannabis affects brain health and generates knowledge that helps improve care, inform policy, and support the health of Canadians. More than 1 in 3 Canadian adults reported having used cannabis in 2025, while the government notes that many people use cannabis without experiencing serious adverse effects. It also highlights what it says are important questions about its impact on brain health at different stages of life, particularly youth, pregnant people, frequent users, and people at increased risk of mental health harms. Made up of 10 multidisciplinary teams, this initiative will explore diverse subjects such as the medicinal possibilities of cannabis and its influence on neurological wellness, sleep patterns, development before birth. Experts will further examine cannabis consumption among individuals managing psychosis, epilepsy, and post-traumatic stress disorder to refine our grasp on its impact on general health. These insights are intended to bolster patient outcome while providing a foundation for data-driven clinical care and government regulation. Well, I know that they've done some of these studies before. I mean, we've seen studies on cannabis helping sleep. We've seen studies on cannabis not having any adverse effects on pregnancy. There's no long-term negative data for people who consumed versus people who didn't. If anything, it showed that people who consumed during pregnancy gave birth to babies that were not delayed in any way, and if anything, above average in all their scores. So it's really interesting that they're now trying to redo this same research to see if they can get a different outcome.
Yeah, this is where I think this might be going, and I've seen other people commenting on this story elsewhere on the interwebs. Is they're going to use this? So this is the government of Canada that's investing the money into this research, right?
Right.
And so I think what they're going to be doing is they're going to be gathering research and studies and evidence to prove that it's not good and use it as part of their propaganda machine.
As they've done forever, right? Yeah. Again, when you have a study that's being done specifically by one party who has a vested interest in its outcome, such as our government, you really need to dissect that research if you are going to read the study when it comes out, and take a look at how they did the study, what placebos were used, where did they get their sources. Just because they write a report and you read that report doesn't mean that the report they compiled was done with the right statistics and the right controls in place. And that's something that I've learned doing this show and Psychedelic Reporters, is that, you really need to dig deeper and ask bigger questions. Just because they say this is what they found, you need to see where they extracted that data from, what other controls might have been used to,
what data did they leave out?
And that as well, right? Was there other data that they decided to exclude because it didn't fit with their overall outcome that they were looking for, right? So let's just exclude this. So really make sure you're using critical thinking skills when you're reading these studies, everybody, because
100%.
Sometimes it is skewed by just not including certain data that could have made that outcome a little different.
Yep, 100%. There's a quote here: as cannabis use and products continue to evolve, so must our understanding of the effects on health, said Patricia Conrad, Scientific Director, CIHR Institute of Neurosciences, Mental Health and Addiction. The Canadian Cannabis and Brain Health Consortium will help researchers build a stronger understanding of how cannabis affects people's health at every stage of life, generating knowledge that can guide prevention, care, and evidence-informed policies for years to come. The consortium's research will include populations that have historically been underrepresented in cannabis research, including Indigenous peoples and people with rare or complex medical histories. Now, I hope I am wrong with this. I hope that it's not going to be used to bolster the propaganda and stigma, create more stigma. I hope it is going to be used for honest research, and that it's going to that it could propel changes in law. But
yeah,
I have.
We should be hopeful, but we also are realists, and we know that the real outcome is that they've always been propaganda pushing people, and therefore, we expect to see the same, though we're hopeful that they'll change their dirty little ways.
Right. So established through the CIHR's Integrated Cannabis Research Strategy following legalization, this project was developed across 6 CIHR institutes to tackle critical evidence gaps highlighted by the 2024 legislative review of the Cannabis Act. That report found insufficient evidence to fully assess the impacts of legalization on public health and public safety. Moving forward, it will be important for the Government of Canada to allocate appropriate funding and resources to ensure the effective implementation of the cannabis framework, stated the 2024 report in part. This will need to include allocating resources in areas that did not initially receive dedicated funding, such as research on the therapeutic potential of cannabis and prevention and treatment programming. So maybe, just maybe, our medical program is going to get some solid science backed up to it, and we will actually get a proper medical program.
We can hope that that's maybe where they're going with this. I mean, we know that recreationally, it has a little bit different impact than that of someone who is using it as medicine, right? As does anything. Whether it be your typical opioid pharmaceuticals. Some people are using it to get high. Some people are using it for their pain treatment. And those are two different outcomes, as we know. So maybe we'll start seeing a little more medical evidence and acknowledgement of the fact that this does help people. And this isn't harming people, especially when used medically. Though I don't believe that, recreationally it's causing harm, especially in the way that we see with all these other substances, including alcohol. So at the end of the day, is it really that harmful when you compare it to other substances that are causing mass chaos in communities, in families, in mental health, right? We know that alcohol is a depressant, cannabis is not. So you're going to see different outcomes there. Cannabis is not addictive in the sense that, like most people can stop using it. If you can't, then you might have some sort of like OCD thing going on or something much deeper rooted. It's not the cannabis itself that's necessarily causing the addiction. That could be trying to tune your life out kind of thing.
Exactly.
And in that case, yeah, you maybe should try more CBD than THC and some psychotherapy, right? And that can help. So, we know how these things go, but I'm really happy that this may actually help bolster the whole health aspect of cannabis. The findings highlight the urgency of bolstering prevention strategies for younger populations to curb consumption hazards and prevent unintentional ingestion while advocating for more rigorous regulatory management of elevated THC concentrations in adult products. It also recommended that Health Canada set and monitor targets for reducing youth and young adult cannabis use and cannabis related harms. Now, we've also read a story on this show about the fact that since cannabis has become legal, it has not increased youth consumption. And that was a study that was done. It's all legit there. So for them to continue saying this, like we need to reduce young adult cannabis use and harm. Well, what's there to reduce? Because it's not even on the rise.
Right. And that's the same case in other countries that have some sort of legalization as well.
Absolutely.
With the youth population is increasing their cannabis use.
Yeah. Although
it decreases.
Yeah. So it's just interesting that they're still on that, like, we got to go after the youth when the youth that are increasing the cannabis use. So it's, propaganda much. Although the review endorses maintaining fundamental health safeguards, it identifies a critical need for stronger implementation and more transparent industry directives on marketing and packaging. Furthermore, the report underscores the need to revise the Cannabis Act to support collective agreements or collaborative agreements that empower Indigenous governments with increased autonomy and streamline licensing paths. The research is clear that exposure to cannabis can disrupt normal brain development, which continues up to the age of 25, argued the legislative review. Earlier use and more intensive patterns of cannabis use increase the risk of serious adverse effects. The social and cultural normalization of substances such as tobacco and alcohol increases curiosity about these products, lessening perceived risks that may influence individuals, especially youth, to underestimate their potential harm. Now, I would disagree with that statement because I was that kid that if you told me this is bad, don't do it, I went and did it. With my kids, I took the clear opposite approach and basically put it on the line for them. Took the mystery out of it for them, told them what it is, told them I'm not dumb, you're going to do it. So don't think you can, at the end of the day, I didn't necessarily condone it, but I was like, listen, if you're going to do it, don't lie to me about it. Like, fuck.
Exactly.
I want to make
open conversation.
Neither of my kids became party animals. Neither of them drank in excess. They both dabbled with cannabis. One is still active with cannabis use for mental health and anxiety sleep. One is a little more like once in a while for his sleep. And that's it. They don't dabble with anything. So, telling kids that it's bad for them and they shouldn't do it isn't necessarily the right approach. Most kids are like, you can't do that. Watch me. So I think we need to take a more educational approach to how we inform kids about, the potential for issues, right? Like greening out and, all of those fun things that happen with cannabis. But telling them not to do it isn't necessarily going to work. Just my take on it. And I've raised 6, so I kind of have a little bit of leeway here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, cannabis-related behaviors and perceptions should be monitored across all age groups to ensure that normalization of cannabis use among youth does not become an unintended consequence of legalization. There is a role for the government of Canada to play in protecting youth from the harms of cannabis by discouraging normalization of cannabis use, fostering informed decision making, and helping youth to develop skills that will better protect them from the early use of substances, including cannabis. Since recreational cannabis legalization in October 2018, the federal government has invested approximately $46 million in dedicated public health research and targeted public health awareness initiatives. There was an initial $24.5 million invested through the CIHR and key health partners, including the Canadian Cancer Society and Mental Health Commission of Canada, to study both harms and therapeutic uses. The federal 2018 and 19 budget projected $83 million in spending on cannabis education over the first 5 years of legislation. However, according to CBC in late 2025, Health Canada reported it had only spent about $21.6 million on education and prevention programs since legalization. The federal government also spent about $29.6 million on 26 other cannabis education and prevention programs since 2018. The number of young people, grades 10 to 12, who report frequent daily to weekly cannabis use in the past 30 days has declined slightly in the past few years. In 2021 to 2022, 285,444 Canadians accessed public health knowledge products developed on cannabis and polysubstance use. From 2022 to 2025, 242,217 Canadians accessed public health knowledge products developed on cannabis and polysubstance use. Did I just read that twice?
One was a decrease in the numbers.
Okay, I see. The percentage of youth grades 7 to 12 who perceive that there is no risk in smoking cannabis has regularly declined from 9% in 2019 to 7% in 2021 to 2022. And in 2024, most people in Canada, 70%, reported that they somewhat or strongly agreed that they had access to enough trustworthy information about the health risks of cannabis to make an informed decision about cannabis use. And this was more common among those who used cannabis in the past 12 months, 84%, than among those who had not used cannabis, 63%. However, results from the most recent Canadian Cannabis Survey and the International Cannabis Policy Study suggest that fewer Canadians are being exposed to public education campaigns and health and safety messages compared to the time immediately following legalization of cannabis for non-medical purposes. So, is this going to be worthwhile information, or is it going to be propaganda material for the propaganda?
And again, it doesn't say exactly what they're looking at, other than how it affects brain health. Well, we've already seen all sorts of studies on, it does, it doesn't, back and it's hard to say, right? Like how they're going to implement this. Are they going to, actually study real life people, or are they just going to take a whole bunch of studies and analyze them and then compile them together? It doesn't really say.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, we will bring you guys follow-ups on this. Now we're going to go to our next story, and we're going to have this one be the last one before our break. We'll go to break right after this. We'll probably end up dropping our last story for this day, for this show. There we go. Get the ad out of the way. Do you mind taking this one away for us, please?
Yeah. So this one is coming to us from CBC.ca. Curaleaf to take offer directly to shareholders in bid to buy Edmonton-based Aurora Cannabis. Curaleaf making plan public after failed negotiation attempts with Aurora's leadership. And this was written by Sammy Hughes on August 11th. Aurora Aurora Cannabis Inc. says it will consider an offer from U.S. cannabis company making a play to take over the Edmonton-based firm. Aurora announced it was forming a special committee to mull the unsolicited bid Tuesday, hours after Curaleaf Holdings Inc. revealed it was preparing to pitch a purchase all of its target's shares. If successful, the move would create a combined cannabis company with a footprint in 17 countries across Europe, North America, and other international markets, Curaleaf said. The Stamford, Connecticut-based company, whose shares are traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange, said it's going public with its plan after multiple attempts to negotiate privately with Aurora's leadership were unsuccessful. It said Aurora's board refused to engage in discussions after Curaleaf boss executive Boris Jordan sent a formal letter of intent on June 23rd outlining the company's proposal. Curaleaf said it sent a follow-up letter on July 7th, but Aurora has been unwilling to engage in constructive discussions to date. Well, here's my question. Like, if you own a company and someone just approaches you and is like, well, this is what we want to do, and you don't want to do it, like, who do they think they are? Like, we're just going to take you over anyways? Like,
that happens in business. That's
I know, it's wild,
baby. Right?
Yeah, it's so wild.
Hostile takeovers.
Yeah, crazy.
Where did you leave off at?
We were
very disappointed that the board refused to meaningfully engage. We will now take our proposal directly to Aurora shareholders because the premium is significant. The strategic rationale is compelling, and further delay is unjustified, Jordan said in a news release. Curaleaf remains ready to engage constructively with Aurora's board to advance this value maximizing transaction, and we are prepared to move quickly toward a definitive agreement. Curaleaf said it has proposed paying Aurora shareholders $4 US per share plus 75 cents US cash for each Aurora share. The Aurora confirmed it received letters from Curaleaf on June 23rd and July 7th outlining proposals to acquire Aurora shares. Only the July 7th letter included any proposed financial terms, and that note did not outline the mix of cash and share consideration being proposed by Curaleaf, Aurora claimed. The Canadian cannabis company also denied Curaleaf's claim that it refused to engage with the offer. Aurora said its lead independent director corresponded with Curaleaf's CEO as recently as July 24th, noting that Aurora was focused on continuing to execute on its business plan over the short to medium term, and did not discourage on ongoing dialogue between the parties going forward. Aurora will now form a special committee of independent directors to consider the proposal and whether it's in the best interest of stakeholders. It warns it can't guarantee a deal will be reached, and in the meantime, Aurora will continue to operate as usual. While Curaleaf's interest in pursuing a bid is encouraging, the offer as it stands undervalues the long-term potential of Aurora's business, said a note published Tuesday by TD Cowen analysts Derek Lessard and Ryan Neal. We believe the proposed consideration does not fully capture Aurora's long-term intrinsic value, they said. We believe Aurora's market leadership in medical cannabis, high-quality product portfolio, strong balance sheet, and proven ability to navigate complex international regulatory requirements position the company to create significantly greater value over time.
Yeah,
wow.
Jordan said that merging the companies would unlock value by combining Curaleaf's global distribution platform with Aurora's leading international medical cannabis franchise and its cultivation and manufacturing capacity. The companies generate more than $1.5 billion in U.S. revenue combined over the last 12 months. A news release noted that Curaleaf expects the proposed takeover to generate at least $40 million U.S. of analyst cost synergies. We believe this combination represents a win-win for Curaleaf and Aurora's stakeholders, said Jordan. We're offering Aurora stakeholders a unique opportunity to participate in a more highly diversified global platform and increase their exposure to U.S. regulatory tailwinds. Wow.
Yeah,
you
so
just, like, take over a company if you got that kind of money, I guess. That's just
and Aurora is a leading LP in both domestic and export markets.
Mm-hmm.
But Curaleaf is a big multi-state operator based out of the U.S. and they want a part of the global pie because it is a global economy after all, right?
Absolutely. Crazy, eh?
It is. So you know what? We're going to go to break now, folks, because it is that time of the show. It is medication time.
That's right, folks. It's time to pay some bills, so stay tuned for a word from some of our amazing sponsors, and then we'll return with more articles making mainstream media news.
We'll be back in just a few minutes. In fact, 4 minutes and 20 seconds here on Ganja News Update on NOK Network.
Hi, my name is John Mark, aka Sublimated Warrior, and I would like to welcome you to Smoke Signal in Tyndinaga.
One dab make your whole dome drip sweat. One dab make the homies all dip set. One dab, only really need one dab. One dab.
Smoke Signal is a medical dispensary where you can get all your products and needs.
Vaping a whole bunch. Might just start laying up the blunts. God. Ooey, ooey, gooey, that's a sticky dab. Sticky dab. Might just have to put this one on Instagram. Go and hold it in, feel it in your ribs.
So come and check us out in Tyndinaga. 55 Highway 49 in Tyndinaga. It's on the res, and we're open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week.
Join us for NOK Network monthly specials, 12 months a year, movie nights, spotlights on entertainment, and live on location coverage. Stay up to date about upcoming programming by subscribing to NOK Network on Rumble, YouTube, X, LinkedIn, Twitch, and Facebook. Check out our webpage at www.noknetwork.com.
Dirty Dave, award-winning cultivator for over 4 decades. Dirty Dave Prized genetics fueled by advanced nutrients, original OG organics.
Everybody must get stoned. Yeah, well, they stone you when you're walking down the street. They stone you when you're trying.
Dirty Dave, award-winning products available at these fine establishments. Ask your shop to carry Dirty Dave. Contact us at dirtiesdoggies@gmail.com.
Welcome back to the show in our regular program.
And we're back from our medication session live here on Ganja News Updates on NOK Network.
That's right. We have another set of stories coming at you making cannabis news. So let's get at it. And our next story here is coming to us from CP24.com. Cannabis worth $1.5 million seized from an illegal production operation in Brampton. This is Brampton, Ontario. This was written by Brianne Aguilar. Published October. I don't want to rush things. It's still August, right? Yeah. August 12th, 2026. Police have charged two people and seized more than $1.5 million worth of cannabis from an illegal operation in Brampton. The Ontario Provincial Police, OPP, said Toronto police came upon the illegal cannabis production while they were executing a search warrant at a commercial unit on Rutherford Road on August 4th in connection with a separate investigation. As a result, OPP said their cannabis enforcement team was called to investigate and determined through Health Canada that the property did not have registrations or licenses to operate.
Yeah, that's no good. They're in some trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
An incidental finding too.
Yeah, it doesn't really say what they were there to access the unit for under the warrant. But obviously they had suspicions that something was up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. A day later, with a search warrant, provincial police said investigators returned to the property and recovered nearly 4,000 cannabis plants and more than 23 kilograms of processed cannabis and $600 in cash. Two people, 43-year-old Ha Van Thang and 38-year-old Van True No, were arrested and charged with possession for the purpose of distributing an unauthorized cultivation under the Cannabis Act. OPP said investigators also discovered significant safety hazards commonly associated with illegal cannabis production operations, including risks related to electrical infrastructure and building safety. The Office of the Fire Marshal and other agencies were called in to attend the scene to make an assessment. Following these assessments, it was determined that there was no ongoing threat to public safety on the property. So they didn't find anything wrong with the wiring or anything. They just had to make sure.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. 1.5 million.
Yeah, that's a significant amount.
It is.
To be growing without even a medical license, as a lot of them tend to do under the medical system.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are still those licenses around, though Health Canada has really cracked down in the last, I'd say, 5 years on all these medical licenses. And they've come in and assessed and realized that, maybe these people aren't just providing medical patients. And that's kind of where this whole medical thing has gone since legalization.
Right.
So, yeah, it's interesting.
But on the same note, though, I don't know where this cannabis was intended, where its destination was intended to be. However, because of the dismal, very dismal, extremely dismal medical cannabis program we have and access to affordable cannabis, people like this fill up the demand that's out there.
Absolutely. I mean, not that I can say for certain, but let's face it, we're not idiots. We've been in the cannabis scene for a very long time. We know how this rolls. Patients can't afford to go to OCS and buy their medicine, so they're buying it on the legacy market. These are probably legacy growers that didn't get sucked up by OCS or otherwise, who are still, again, providing cannabis, whether it's to, say, reservation dispensaries, or they're selling it out of some, back alley somewhere, or whatever the case may be. They're providing people with a product at a lesser cost that the government's pissed about because they're not getting their tax dollars.
Yep. That's all it is. Anyways, we're off to our next story. Do you mind starting this one for us?
Yeah. So this one comes to us from cbc.ca. Cannabis New Brunswick looking to new strategy as sales fall and illicit market competition grows. Expanded rural access loyalty programs, in-store sampling still in the works. And this was written by Rochelle Huizinga on August 14th of this year. Against a backdrop of strict regulation, declining sales, and relentless competition from the illicit market, Cannabis New Brunswick is looking ahead to the next 3 years. The Crown Corporation has begun developing a new strategic plan expected to be released next February or March, according to CEO Lori Stickles. She said many of the goals from the first plan have yet to be achieved. It was a lofty plan when we set it out, she said. There are several things that did not happen as we planned. Those goals included ambitions to introduce in-store sampling at Cannabis New Brunswick locations and to offer cannabis-infused beverages in restaurants. Both require regulatory changes from the province, but Stickles said dialogue with the government has been good and those goals are still on the table. Cannabis New Brunswick also hoped to expand access to legal products in rural communities, selling in convenience stores alongside liquor and tobacco. The corporation was again blocked by regulatory restrictions, but Stickles confirmed that work towards the goal also continues, especially as Cannabis New Brunswick competes with the illicit market. Okay, so I mean, great. They're going to maybe allow in-store sampling like they do in the liquor store. You can go have a wine sample some days or a beer sample or a cooler sample. I mean, that's kind of cool because that's something that in Legacy we have said is what people want. They want to walk in and be like, handed a pre-roll or, even a mini pre-roll. Like, here, try this flower. It's new on the market. It's really good. Because that happens in Legacy all the time. People give you free doobies everywhere you go. It's crazy.
Oh, I know, right?
And that's what people in the Legacy industry have been used to for all this time, is being able to see, smell, and taste the product. So that's kind of cool. But again, are they going to actually do that? I can't see the government allowing that to happen. They don't even want you to see the product. They've finally allowed some clear windows. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to be a long time before we see sampling happening in the stores. And then again, that goes back to, okay, so you're going to allow people to sample in the store and then they leave that store. Is that not the same as drinking and driving? Like, these are things that, people need to think about as well. And that could pose problems. You smoke half a joint at the pre-roll store and you pull out of there and get pulled over, right?
But how many people have those samples of wine and you get someone who may not be, like, you may get someone, even though it's a small sample, they may still feel a little bit rosy with it.
Right. But again, that tiny little sample isn't going to be enough for them to say blow over on a breathalyzer, which is
no, not necessarily. Yeah. And see, that's where we are too with the testing on the THC. Like, just because THC is in your system doesn't necessarily mean that there's impairment.
So I think we need to change some of those things before we see sampling actually being a positive thing in that area, because it's opening that door where we don't have those levels set. All use is impaired use under cannabis, but not under alcohol.
Right.
right?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Yeah. We want to be able to provide that safe access within more rural communities, she said, of the efforts to offer products in communities where it doesn't make economic sense to have a standalone store. The number of standalone stores has increased across the province over the past 3 years. Cannabis NB now has 32 corporate stores and 12 private retail stores. It also has 9 farm gate stores, which are locations where cannabis producers can legally sell their own products. Some form of a loyalty program was also part of Cannabis NB's original strategic plan, and while Stickles said it likely won't exist in the traditional sense due to Health Canada's marketing rules, it should roll out sometime in the next year. Um, Declining cannabis sales are a national trend. After legalization in 2018, Cannabis NB saw sales increase every year. That trend ended in the 2025-2026 fiscal year when the corporation earned $20.9 million, falling short of the previous year's net earnings of $23.1 million. First quarter results offer little signs of a turnaround. Net income is down 20.4% compared to the same quarter last year. In a report, Cannabis NB chalks this up to a shift in consumer preference from the premium dried flower to convenience products like vape pens. Stickles says the corporation is also moving more products at a lower retail price. She says it may hurt top line sales, but Cannabis NB is playing the long game and hoping to attract more customers from away from unregulated suppliers. And the next part, we reported this on last week. She reported Toonie Tuesday as a popular sales tactic in the illicit market. Pre-rolls $2 each, Tuesdays onlys. When an unregulated store in Moncton was raided and boarded up in the spring, Cannabis NB decided to offer the promotion at its own stores. We immediately saw a lot of new customers. We immediately saw a whole lot of new customers coming into our store that had come from that store, Stickles said. The promotion sold 100. How did they know they came from that store?
right.
Like,
Did they ask him, hey, did you used to
everybody,
shop
or
at the place we busted?
because words are cheap, right? Like you can
Right.
say anything, and until someone challenges your words.
Right.
So I don't know if everyone said, "Oh yeah, we just came over from here. Now we're over here now looking for your $2 joint." I don't
Right.
know. The promotion did sell 100,000 pre-rolls in its first month. When CBC interviewed Stickles in August, she said that number was up to $188,000. And a supplier secured. The promotion is now being permanently offered province-wide.
Yeah. Well, here's another interesting thought. Let's face it, since those decline in sales year after year have kind of come down, what has been happening in our local economies here in Canada?
Right?
Let's
That's
face
what
it,
I
we're
was thinking.
in a recession. Are people going and buying cannabis as much as they were 5 years ago? No. Why? Because our economy has gone to shit. And when people have to choose between rent, bills, food, and cannabis, guess what comes last? Their cannabis, their medicine. And they may be going to the illicit market for that reason because they can get more for their money, and they need it. So again, is it necessarily the illicit market taking from them? No. We should be looking at what the real reasons are behind people's drop in spending, and what's happening in reality, which is our economy. And that's what drives it. If people don't have the money, they can't spend it.
Exactly.
Right? Like that's kind of how this rolls. But the government just sees it as the illicit market's taking. Oh, well, no, you guys kind of fucked up our economy, and then you charge all this money for a product we can get cheaper somewhere else. What do you think we're going to do? Right. So they have some more research to do in that space right now.
Right.
Yeah. Even if it's a matter of saving $10 going to an illegal store versus a legal store in today's economy, that can mean a lot, said David Brown, founder of Cannabis Media Group, StratCan, and former senior policy advisor with Health Canada's cannabis branch. And even he said the same thing, right? Is that, economy is making that difference. For instance, 1 gram vape pen costs between $40 and $60 at Cannabis New Brunswick, but the same amount would fetch you a 2 or 3 gram pen at an unregulated store. Edibles, too, are a problem. Health Canada restrictions means they cannot contain more than 10 milligrams of THC, whereas the unregulated product could contain 500 milligrams or more for a fraction of the price. Very true. It's a contentious issue with the industry, according to Brown. Producers really want to see those higher potency edibles to meet market demand and to be able to better compete with some of those illicit products. In my experience, that's a pretty hard line for Canada, and historically, they've not been willing to really budge on that. Not that there hasn't been compromise. In 2025, Health Canada updated regulations to allow 100 milligrams of THC in a single package. Brown said, though, the individual pieces still cannot exceed 10 milligrams, and the edibles have to be packaged within a larger package. So again, over packaging, let's treat everyone like we're idiots here. You can only have 10 milligrams, but we'll let you have a whole 100 milligrams in the pack. So it's not bringing down costs quite as much as people were hoping, Brown said, but we are seeing evidence of a slight increase of edible sales that does seem to be connected to that. Despite the challenges, Canada's cannabis industry has contributed more than $43 billion to the GDP since legalization, said Stickles. And Stickles said excise revenue coming back to New Brunswick is about $13.5 million. We want to be profitable and return that value back to New Brunswick, but we also want to stay very focused on our mandate of converting those customers over and ensuring safe access to regulated products. Well, again, I wouldn't necessarily say regulated is safe. We've seen the recalls. We know what's going on. And again, it's cannabis, use your brains.
Right. I think the money could be better spent elsewhere.
Absolutely. We have much worse problems in our society today.
Right.
Which, by the way, our government condones. So, figure that one out, right?
Right.
Yeah, we're after cannabis, but we're giving out safe supply of harder shit everywhere else.
Hashtag make it make sense, right? Yeah. Anyways, we're moving off to our last story for the evening here. This story is coming to us from CTV News out of New Brunswick. CTV News, New Brunswick. I don't think it's, I guess maybe Organigrams in New Brunswick, I guess. Anyways, European acquisition powers cannabis company Organigram to record revenues. Cannabis company Organigram Global Inc. says the acquisition of a European medical cannabis company has helped drive it to record record quarterly revenues and fundamentally reshape the firm. Organigram said the April purchase of German-based Sanity Group GmbH added about $38 million in net revenue during the 3-month period that ended on June 30th. Organigram was already an investor in the company and acquired all its remaining issued and outstanding shares for about 107 million euros, which is about $173.7 million. Organigram today is a fundamentally different company than it was earlier this year. CEO James Yamanaka said during a call with analysts Tuesday to discuss the company's third quarter financial results. We are larger in scale, broader in geographic reach, and better positioned for long-term profitable growth.
Yeah, Founded in New Brunswick in 2013, Organigram corporate offices are in Toronto with its flagship flower and ready-to-consume products facility located in Moncton, New Brunswick. It produces hash, craft flower in Lac Superior, Quebec, edibles, including extracts in Winnipeg, hydrocarbons and carbon dioxide for extracts and concentrates in Elmer, Ontario, and handles distribution from London, Ontario. Organigram said Sanity has about 10% of the German cannabis market under its European growth strategy. The subsidiary is expanding operations in Switzerland, the UK, Poland, and Chechnya. This includes a recreational cannabis pilot project and a new medical cannabis partnership in Switzerland. Its upcoming entry into the Polish market and launching brand products in the UK through strategic partnerships. In Canada, Yamanaka said Organigram has 11.1% share in the recreational cannabis market. That includes 12.5% of the cannabis flower category and up to 2 percentage points year over year, 36% of regular pre-rolls. Edibles were a soft spot for the company, said the CEO. While the company's share of the segment stayed relatively stable, he said it's feeling pressure from the lower-priced competitors. Yamanaka said the company believes it can expand its market share further as quality, consistency, and potency continue to improve. He said the company has reduced its number of products by about 10% compared to last year to bring more discipline to the portfolio. Rather than chasing shelf space through product proliferation, we're positioning ourselves to gradually invest behind fewer, stronger brands with clear consumer positioning and less overlap, he said. Organigram's net revenue for the quarter was $105.8 million compared to the $70.8 million over the same period a year ago, mostly due to the Sanity acquisition. The company's net income was $105.5 million, up from the net loss of $6.3 million in the third quarter of 2025. The company's diluted earnings per common share came in at about 77 cents compared to a loss of about 0.05 per common share a year ago. Wow. So it looks like they're really growing that company, eh?
They are. So they've brought. It looks like they brought themselves out of a big hole.
Mm-hmm.
We all know they're the other name that we've used to call them in the past.
Yeah.
Based on their past actions and stuff, but I don't know.
Maybe they're turning shit around.
Maybe. What did I just have pop up here? Let something pop up on my screen. There we go. Anyways, what is happening here? Oh, something's recording. I clicked on. Oh, there it is. Anyways, I guess that's the end of the show. Hold on. What is happening here? I can't. What is going on? I can't click anything on my screen. Can you hear me, Tara?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I hear you, yeah.
Yeah, I can't click anything to change the format of. I got something that says drag to select an area to start recording. So I don't know if I accidentally clicked on something on my computer or what. I see an active app up, but I can't see what it's doing. Yeah, I can't close anything. Okay, just give me a second here. I don't know what's going on. Okay, escape to dismiss area. What is going on here? Okay, just give me 1 second here, okay?
Yeah.
We'll get this shut down in a second. Expenditure. Oh, there we go, I think. think I'm back. Okay, there we go. It's some Adobe Express popped up.
Tech things.
So yeah. So I have to figure out what that is and get that off my computer. I must have clicked something on like a shortcut or something. But anyways, folks, sorry about that. Tech things, right? So just want to thank you all for joining us here this week on Ganja News Update on NOK Network, and for tuning in to our video podcast on NOK Network's Rumble page, as well as our social media sites.
That's right, folks. We hope you enjoyed your update today of mainstream media coverage of cannabis news and information from around the globe.
And many thanks to our sponsors for making this show possible. And thank you to my joint host, Tara Simpson, right on over here. And to you, our listeners, for joining us each week on Meducation Mondays with Ganja News Update on NOK Network. Now, I know, Terry, you got another show to record, so you can take off right on out of here as soon as we're off screen. So good night, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Ganja me meditation, ganja my pain. Ganja we take away my stress and strain. Ganja me meditation, ganja in my brain. Marijuana take away my stress and pain. Ganja me meditation, ganja in my brain. Marijuana take away the stress and pain. Ganja is the medication, ganja is the cure. Police of them a fight the marijuana for sure. Purify me essence and they make me feel pure. 100 way to Cali, we be bring it on tour. Ganja in the meditation, ganja in my clothes. No offense, I'm smoking another